All right, so good morning, everybody. Excited to be here with you for the first Heroes Summit. We still have people trickling in, but yeah, really excited to be here with everyone today. I think it's a great way to kick off a new year. For those who are kind of, just getting caught up on the event, the goal today is just to build stronger relationships among the heroes. We're hoping that there can be some kind of knowledge sharing, some experience sharing. People can also share a bit about what they're working on and what they like to do. And, once we get to know each other better and know what other folks are working on and what they're good at and their skill sets, I'm hopeful that will lead to greater collaboration among our heroes members. So that's kind of the idea for the day. The most important thing, I think, is that we all try to be present. So please put up a Slack status that says, "Don't bother me," and close Slack for the rest of the event. Close your other tabs and just hang out, put your thoughts in the chat, connect with other folks, and just try and be present and kind of listening, because we do have some really inspiring and exciting talks lined up today. I'm just trying to check and see if all of our speakers are here. I know Bethan is going to be joining late. And Akanksha, if you're here, can you wave in the chat? But yeah, we have a great agenda planned. The day is broken into 3 main blocks. So we're going to have keynotes, which are kind of longer form talks where people will be able to share their experience, and it'll hopefully be a skill building opportunity for everyone who's listening. We're going to have lightning talks where people can share, their passions, what they're working on, their side projects, as a way to kind of all get to know each other a little bit better. And then we're going to finish the day with some networking sessions. One's going to be a panel discussion that we hope will be really interactive. And then we'll have time for one-on-one networking that'll happen right here in the Hopin platform. Before we get underway, I do want to say thank you to our planning committee, Mario, Alejandro, Akanksha, Abel, and Roland. They've been meeting with me weekly for the last month and bi-weekly for a few months prior to that, and really helped set the agenda for this event. They helped recruit speakers for the event. They helped us choose the platform that we're using today. So they've been instrumental in pulling this together. And so I just wanted to make sure that they get a shout out and, show some love for them in the chat, if you will. I'm sure they would love to hear or see your applause in the chat box. So give them some claps. I also want to thank our speakers. We have a bunch of folks doing keynotes and lightning talks, a bunch of folks who volunteered to be panelists, and just everyone who's making time to be here today. Thank you so much. We couldn't, do this event without you. We wouldn't have the Heroes program without you. And, I think, GitLab is really grateful to everyone here for their contributions. We launched Heroes in 2019, and the goal we set out was really small. I remember walking down the street with Sid, our CEO, during my time doing our CEO Shadow program, which is a really cool program where different team members get to spend 2 weeks with our CEO, going to all the meetings and things and getting to see the world, the world of GitLab through the CEO's eyes. And we were talking about the Heroes program before, it launched, just about 2 months before we launched the program. And we were talking about the goal of just having more people write technical blog posts. It's a really simple kind of goal. And, as I talked to other people in the organization, we talked about having 2 or 3 people in the program. 2 or 3 GitLab Heroes was kind of the initial goal we talked about. We wound up launching the program in July. And I think by, within the first month, we had more than 50 people apply for the program. And most of those folks were meeting the criteria. It was such a great community, and the criteria that we set, was something that many folks achieved. And we quickly iterated on the program to kind of raise the bar and continue to see great community members applying for the program. So it was really just blew our expectations out of the water right away. And, today we're up to almost 90 heroes. We continue to see new interest from the community every month. We continue to see applications, and over the time that the Heroes program has grown, GitLab has also grown tremendously. And I think in many ways that's because of contributions from everyone here today and all of the GitLab heroes who aren't with us today. So just want to say thank you all for your contributions and for being here today. And I'm excited about what the future holds for GitLab and for the GitLab heroes. Moving forward, one exciting change that I want to announce today is that we're going to have a new evangelist program manager leading the community. She'll be joining the team on February 8th, and she'll be leading both the Heroes and the Meetups program. And so, I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot from her in the future, but I won't be going far. I'll still be on the community relations team and still be really involved managing that person and really involved with the Heroes program. So you won't be missing me too much. But I do hope that when she joins the team, she'll bring some fresh ideas and help move the program forward. And we have a monthly steering committee meeting, and shout out to all of our steering committee members. I see a few of them in the chat: Marvin, Nico, Adrian, and also want to thank those who aren't here today or aren't commenting yet. But all of our steering committee is great, and we talked about future plans, and I think some of them have been on hold because we wanted the new evangelist program manager to really make the decisions on how to move the program forward. But I think you'll start to see some exciting changes to the program, whether that's moving to a cohort model to kind of foster stronger connections among our heroes, or just reassessing our acceptance criteria and the rewards. I'm sure some folks would love some fresh hero swag. So all of that will be stuff that we're thinking about in the new year. But I can see I'm already going over time, so I'm going to leave it there, and hopefully Akanksha has joined us. If not, I guess we'll go with Adrian and Nico next. So let me I'm going to add Nico. Adrian, can you go using the backstage link that I sent you? Can you click on that? It's in an invite that I sent you for the Heroes Keynotes, and then I'll be able to add you as a speaker once you use that link and share your camera and microphone with Hopin. Oh, okay, I see Akanksha now, so hold on, we can stick with the schedule. Hey, what's up, Nico?
Hey.
All right, hold on. Nico, I'm going to remove you from the stream for a second. There you are. Hello.
Hi, am I audible?
I can't hear you.
Okay, perfect. Is my video also visible?
Okay, I see other folks are backstage with me. I see Akanksha on the screen. Do other folks see Akanksha on the screen? Oh, you can hear and see her. Okay. All right, Akanksha, I'm really sorry that you can get started.
Just to check, is my voice and video visible and audible? Hello?
All right, Akanksha, you're good to go.
Okay. Which link do I have to press to go to the main stage?
I think you're already on the stage, so you're all set. All you need to do is just start sharing your screen and start your presentation.
Sure.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Hello everyone, I am Akanksha Bhasin. I am the founder of Women in Voice India, and today I am here to present my talk on building communities at scale. A little bit about me. As I'm working in Women in Voice India as a founder and also currently an Alexa student influencer and VoiceFlow India. I'm also a product evangelist at CutShot. I'm a community advocate and I've also led the developer student clubs in the past. I'm a web and voice developer and love designing conversations for voice assistants. And on the personal side, I love to dance. So, what is community? A group of people who share a common place, experience, or interest and come together to communicate, work together, or pursue interest over time. It could be a technical community discussing about Android or web, or maybe related to hiking or cooking. While the environment is different, the fundamentals of how community form is always been the same. I've also learned these things over the past, like things like hiring the right people, building a brand, try to make it as fun and inclusive as possible. Impacting lives through technical communities. So communities could be in any mode, be it offline or online. I read somewhere that in the previous year, on an average, a new community was created on credit every 2.4 minutes. So, like more than 1 billion people are participating in Facebook groups every month. So, it took me 5 seconds to tell you about this statement. It's safe to assume that at least one new community must have been formed in this time frame somewhere in the world. In fact, communities have been forming, evolving, and dying consistently since the beginning of humanity. Building communities is like a part of being human. Opening a new community is very easy, but sustaining it will be a tough road to hoe. Now it's story time. I started my journey in voice and development by developing actions on Google and later explored voice tech and also learned about web development. So I've learned all this all because of these communities. And after learning this new technology, I felt really motivated, excited to bring the next voice revolution in India. I wanted to teach others about this latest technology. I want to make the voice ecosystem better in India, like people getting access to resources more easily. I was a regular attendee in meetups, and then like transformed to becoming an organizer and hosted events, and then finally speaking at meetups. The transformation has been really phenomenal. Like all thanks to these communities who have always supported me and uplifted me. Here are some glimpses of some sessions that I took in some colleges with my colleague. In most of the meetups, we covered web development, Google Actions, as well as voice skills. We also focused on design thinking and focusing more on the conversation design, which matters the most. I've helped a lot of people in getting started in the field of voice and have given around 20 plus sessions on various technologies in 4 different states of India, which actually impacted over 2,000 people in a span of 2 years. So here's some pictures. Uh, the developer student clubs lead also get a 3 day long phenomenal conference and Goa. We have all sessions including from development to technology, hackathons, and much more. So in November 2019, I started giving some sessions on voice flow in Meetups, and now it's a community of around 500 developers across India. A little about voice flow. It's a no-code tool that helps you in prototyping and build Google Actions as well as Alexa skills. And because of my contribution in these voice communities and other technical communities, I was also invited to speak at Voice Global last year. So it was my first international talk. Next comes Women in Voice. So Women Voice is an organization for supporting women and minority genders in the field of voice. Our mission is to celebrate, amplify, build communities, and empower women and gender minorities in voice. And we also had the recent launch of Women in Voice India, where people all across India and Europe joined us for the event. In October 2020, we also did a closed event with 7 members for getting started with GitLab. Building relationships, teams, and communities. Our goal is to create impact people, and empower them to impact their communities through technology. So all these things comes in community building. And there are a lot of amazing communities, especially for women as well, like Women Who Code, Women Tech Makers. Like few male friends of mine used to say that why don't we have men who code? Female gets a lot of opportunities and special treatment. They used to laugh about it. But they don't understand that these are not sort of monopoly or segregated groups, but they are here to empower women, inspire them to enhance their potential, and they just need a path to open their wings and bring magic into the lives of people through code or providing solutions in technology. So, essence of community building. First is the audience. Choose your audience wisely. Let's say you want to do something for beginners, cater all the technical topics according to it. And whenever we host some meetups, take proper survey forms or roll out a registration form where you know how many professionals are joining and how many students are joining, so that you can keep the tracks like intermediate tracks or beginner level tracks. So it will be an ease for the audience as well. And try to grab the audience attention right from the start, uh, be it emotional or be simple. And you must have some surprise element as well. Maybe highlight something which is unusual or surprising. You can also do some sort of quizzes in between, or maybe some cool swags to the winner who answers correctly. And in most of the meetups, there are also mini hackathons, which are of about 2 to 3 hours, which you can definitely host. These are sort of ideathons. You just need to um, ideate with your friends, and you need to showcase to the judges. Next comes the sponsors. So having sponsors is really important because we need to think about the logistics part. We need food, we need good co-working areas. So try to tie up with some co-working areas. If they don't provide it for free, you can have some sort of paid sessions at a nominal fees. And one, I would say, like, inspire the audience to act on the information what they have learned. Like, depending on the idea, this can be from downloading an app to joining your organization. Take proper feedbacks after the event regarding the speakers, the logistics, or any other technology they want to learn in the next sessions. And you could also ask what could have been better, and have digital presence. Aware them about the importance of like social presence. Motivate them to write blogs or LinkedIn post after the event, or maybe make some project that they have learned from the technology. And due to this digital presence, that comes the network effect. Um, so network effects basically means motivate them to follow your channels, and this will also motivate their friends to join the sessions as well. So these are the benefits of community. Meet and greet, peer-to-peer learning actually provides an awesome experience and will enhance your knowledge easily. Like, most of the people ask this question, like, why go for a community meetup? We have to spend a lot of time on traveling, and a lot of material is already available on the internet. But you never know what brings in. You might learn something new, or you might learn something from the past mistakes of the people so that you don't repeat it. Or maybe you can find your future co-founder or a hackathon partner. When I was in my sophomore, I found my hackathon partner from a different college, and on top of the hackathon, it was in a different city. My parents were totally against it, as I haven't traveled alone to a different city. But somehow I convinced them by saying it's my heart calling, and I have to go. And that life-changing experience proved to be very beneficial for me. I felt independent at that moment, and I also learned new technologies there. I learned blockchain for the first time from my co-partner. Speaker sessions. So some sessions provide real world experience, and you work on projects to build solutions for real life problems. There are various open source organizations and communities for the same, like POS, GSOC programs, etc. Personal growth, like research on the topics after the meetup, practicing what you have learned collaboratively makes your skills sharper. Meetups are open to all. You get a chance to network with like minded people and people with diverse backgrounds as well. All this provides experience to real world problems, increases your knowledge, as well as the chance of getting hired. Referrals could also help in this situation. So, at the last, I would like to say, be curious, uplift others, and never fear from applying to new opportunities that come in your way. So, all these things I've learned from the community, and it's like a career is a marathon. So, it's important to focus on the enriching experience and not just positions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Akanksha. That was really great. I loved your idea about homework. I will be assigning homework to everybody after today, so stay tuned for that.
Sure.
I also thought you made a great point about like that surprise and delight element, and how important that is to keep communities engaged. And that's probably something we can do better at GitLab and with the Heroes program as well. If folks have questions, feel free to enter them in the chat. I did have one question for you, and you seem to have, experience across such a wide range of communities. I think one thing I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts of, which is something we struggle with a lot, since I've joined GitLab and in my experience with other communities, is like the creating content that speaks to your community members, when community members tend to have like this wide range of skill sets. Do you have any advice on how to kind of, factor that into the content creation element, making sure that you're able to reach community members who, maybe, beginners or maybe experts, and kind of crafting a message that speaks to both of those audiences?
Yeah, I feel for content creation, the best way would to research more on the topics the community likes. Let's say we are talking about GitLab, we can have some sort of different tracks for beginners, intermediates, and some who are working on extensive projects using GitLab. So we can have some weekly collabs in between, so that we can check what's your state, what you have learned, like coffee chats, I would say, and then cater the resources, what they have learned, and write the documentation according to it.
Cool. Thanks. I just want to check the chats and make sure I'm not missing any questions. I see lots of applause, lots of clapping. But yeah, that was great. Thanks, Akanksha. Really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you in some of the other sessions later today, if you're able to stick around. I know it's getting late where you are.
No worries. I really enjoyed it.
Great. Thank you. All right. So now we're going to move on to our next talk, which is Heroes 101. And I need to figure out how to add Adrian and Nico. So just give me 1 second while I sort that out.
Hey.
All right, I'll leave it to you two. I'm gonna turn my camera and mic off. But thank you both for being here, and excited to hear your presentation.
Cool, thank you. I'm assuming everybody can hear us. If anybody can't hear us, please just let us know and we can adjust that. So Nico and myself are going to talk about GitLab Heroes 101. Considering the audience is GitLab Heroes, you might know some of this, you might not. It's also nice to have a sort of single place to look at sort of the overview of the program from our perspective. Next slide, please. Nico's controlling the slides while I talk, so we're going to have a little bit of back and forth. So just kind of an overview of us. We're both GitLab Heroes, and we're also both members of the steering committee. So as I said before, my name is Adrian. I'm a systems engineer at SalesLoft. It's a company based in Atlanta in the US. So I work remotely from South Africa. So time zone's a bit funny. Nico, over to you, I guess.
Yeah, so my name is Nico Meisenzahl. I'm Senior Cloud and DevOps Consultant. I'm working in Germany for mostly German customers at White Duck. Cool. So before we jump over, we have some interesting links and things you might need later. So therefore, I already shared the link to our slides in the chat, but you will also find it here, and you can type the short URL if you like to. But as said, I shared it in the stage chat for you. Okay, so our agenda for the next 15, 20 minutes. So basically just doing a short intro into the GitLab Heroes program itself, but we'll keep that one short because we are all heroes, so basically we know the program. And then some interesting things on our GitLab Hero website page on www.gitlab.com. How you, if you're not yet add yourself to the page, how you can do that, how you can add the contributions to the page, and stuff like this, some best practices. And after that, Adrian will jump in and talk about some people involved and also how to connect with the heroes in the community, our options there. Okay, so the next one I will keep pretty short. So GitLab Hero program is about engaging, supporting, and recognizing members from the wider community. We are already all GitLab Heroes, so just as an intro slide, yeah, so engaging, supporting, recognizing, and for me, it's also connecting with other people from the wider community, which is pretty important for me. Yeah, some statistics, stats from the Hero program. So GitLab Hero program was introduced in July 2019. I personally am involved, I thought about it earlier today, since August 2013. So first time was an GitLab commit in New York City in August 2019, where I visited John at his GitLab Hero booth, and we had a nice talk. So looks like I'm pretty early part of the GitLab Hero program. I wasn't aware of that one. So until today, or better say until yesterday, last time I checked the counts, we are 89 heroes so far in the program, and we have 45 contributions on our hero page. The hero page contribution page is live since last year, January. So basically in 1 year, 12 months, we had 45 contributions all over us, at least shared on our community hero page. And also we got 15 requests from other community members who requested help from the heroes. So basically, Adrian is talking about this later one. We have a hero issue template where somebody can request help from us, support from us, and stuff like this. Yeah, so if you would like to get program updates on the hero program, you have multiple options. First one is just reading the newsletter, the monthly newsletter John is sending via email. You should get this one. But this is also the same content is also available in the issues in our repo, and I shared the link with the search over here. So you can access all the monthly issues there. And if you would like to get some deeper insights and deeper insights and deeper look into the program, we can also review our meeting notes from the steering committee call, which we do on a monthly basis. It's a public available Google Doc. Also shared the link here. On the other hand, we're also doing the replays on YouTube on the GitLab Unfiltered channel, so you can also review the steering committee calls there if you would like to get it on an audio and video. Yeah, as I said, I would like to talk about the GitLab Hero page a bit. Yeah, it's basically the starting point where you find all the details of the GitLab Hero program. So you could either nominate yourself as a hero, which you don't need anymore, but you can also nominate someone else. So if you know a person which would match to our GitLab Hero program, you can use our GitLab Hero page to nominate a new one. You can also meet other heroes. So we have a page where all of us are listed, which contact details, Twitter handle, GitLab handle, and stuff like this. So you can use it to connect to other heroes if you would like to. And we have our contribution page where you can review on an ongoing basis our contributions and see talks, blog posts, or YouTube videos and stuff like this. So a nice intro page to get all the details. But of course, we also need content for the page. So in case you do not have added yourself to the Meet the GitLab Heroes page, please do so. It's basically just a merge request, and you need to customize one file, mention John, and you are good to go. So it's not really many steps you need to do, and you only need to add a picture of your or something else, add some lines about yourself and your contact details, and create a merge request. The whole steps you need to do are documented. I also added a link over here. Same again with our contributions, which are also part of our GitLab Hero page. Here we would like to ask to really update your contributions on an ongoing basis. So if you haven't talked or have written a blog post or did a meetup or something, just create a merge request afterwards, add your work, what you did, And with that, you can share it in the wider community, and everyone can see our great contributions. This, once again, is just a small merge request. You can decide if it's a blog post, if it's a video, if it's a tech talk or so. Add a link, add some intros, and just send in the merge request. For every merge request, it's pretty important to mention John to make him aware to review the merge request and then merge it into the master. Once again, all the docs and documentations are here available on this link. Yeah, maybe some tips and tricks. When working with our GitLab Hero page, it's basically part of the www.gitlab.com -com repository, which is pretty large and heavily changing project. So you can, of course, clone it locally, create and fork, and work locally. But somehow, for me at least, it's nicer to either use a web IDE or the Git pod instead, because then I do not need to clone the whole repo and stuff like this. And we are only doing just some small text changes, so web IDE on Gitpod or Gitpod are pretty nice for that. And on the other hand, you can also use the repository mirroring feature, which allows you to synchronize your fork with the actually GitLab or www.gitlab.com repo to make sure that your fork is up to date all the time. So then you can just create a new merge request or create a new branch, add your changes, and merge them in, and you're already up to date and ready to start. If you're doing merge requests and branches, please make sure to follow the naming conventions, because it's a pretty large project, as I said, and we don't, we should make sure that we do not mess up the whole project itself. So all the details on how to name the branches, how to name the merge requests are also part of the documentation I shared earlier. Yeah, and if you create a merge request, as I said, please mention John, and also please select this option here to allow John to make any changes in this review process. Yeah, with that, one last slide before Adrian's slides are starting. So we also have an issue template which we can use to track contributions we're working on. So if you know you're doing a talk on GitLab stuff in 2 months, or if you're working on a blog post and maybe would like to get some feedback or would like to ask a question or exchange with the hero, you can use this template and track your work and engage and communicate, collaborate with other heroes on that. Also, this helps Sean and the team to track ongoing contributions and stuff like this. With that, back to Adrian.
Cool, thank you. I'm quickly just going to go off schedule and say something. At the very end, we have Q&A. And I thought, because there's a lot of text-based stuff, if you're thinking of questions at the moment that maybe we could answer, go ahead and write them into the chat right now. So by the time we get to the end, hopefully there'll be a few questions we can answer rather than waiting around. So with that, let me continue. So I'm going to be talking about the people involved with the GitLab Heroes. You should all know this friendly face. It's our dear John, who introduced us at the beginning. A little bit about John. He runs the GitLab Heroes program. If you go to his GitLab profile, you can see a little bit more about his interests and that sort of stuff. He also chairs the Heroes Steering Committee, which Nico mentioned earlier, which we're both part of. And his role at GitLab is to manage the developer evangelism team. Cool. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just a little bit about the steering committee. There's the 6 of us on the right there. You might recognize 2 of us, the people who are talking right now. So the committee is just a small group of heroes who are kind of interested in how the program is running and what the program is doing. I think a lot of us are involved in various other communities and hopefully have some sort of insight into how other communities run and can use that to the advantage of heroes. Rather than going into this thing blind and figuring out all by ourselves. And basically what we do is we get on a monthly call with John and discuss the program. John generally comes with ideas and thoughts, and just uses us as a sounding board to make sure that his thoughts and ideas are relevant to the community that GitLab is trying to build here. And I think it's also a nice space for the community to actually reach back to John with any thoughts or concerns about things we should change or whatever. And he can then take that into consideration and decide what sort of action should take place. Great. So next slide, please. We're going to be talking about how you can connect with other heroes. The three methods is the GitHub chat, the repository, which has been spoken about previously, and then obviously, or then coffee chats, which is kind of a thing we're trying. So GitChat, if you're not on GitChat, I would recommend joining. If you're worried about noise with having so many chat things, I can assure you that this is very low noise and high signal. So it's very valuable things that are going on, and it's all related to the GitLab Heroes community. So totally worth your time being there. The URL is right over there on that slide, which you can access. Would highly recommend joining, sharing your contributions, all that sort of thing. On the right, as you can see in the screenshot, there's also the activity feed of what's going on in the repository. So you can see issues being created and comment on that sort of stuff. And then just a note, if you use Matrix, one of the I think it's multi-chat clients, they've recently added Gitter, so you can just add it into there quite easily. I generally use it in my browser. So next slide, please. Nico has mentioned this a little bit, but there's the GitLab Heroes repository. It's kind of it's not necessarily a starting place, but it's where anything relevant to Heroes kind of lives and starts from. So the most important and most notable is that README. Generally, that README should be pointing at any other resource that you need access to, or if you're looking for help, that README kind of is your starting point. For example, it lists who the steering committee is. It speaks about some of the issues and websites and resources that you can get to. Then also there are the issues and then this issue template. Issues is when you can potentially raise a question, point out something that you've done for the community, or one of the templates is to ask for help for another hero. If you create an issue, there's a little template drop down, and there's a template you can fill in with asking for help, and it's given a particular label so that people can search for it and find it. Cool. Next slide. So something that we are trying to do, we've done a few in the past, and we're trying to see if we can figure out a way to make it work for more people. We're trying coffee chats, and it's just a casual discussion, 40 to 60 minutes, no specific agenda, and it's time for people to connect with one another. So we don't necessarily talk about GitLab or the Heroes program. We can talk about pretty much anything. It's a nice community building thing. There's no expectations from anyone. It's just sort of something that we're trying to do that's a bit fun. And the latest idea we've had is to set a single time once a month that you can join. And so that will be the first Wednesday of every month at 12 o'clock UTC. Unfortunately, we can't pick a single time slot that'll be great for everybody in the world. So if anybody else is interested in maybe trying a different time zone that'll better suit them, please raise your hand and we can maybe get that going. Otherwise, if this becomes more successful and we get regular people attending, maybe we can spin out to other groups from there, kind of depending how it goes. Cool. And with that, we're going to be on the Q&A slide. Are there any questions? Do we have time for questions?
I'm not sure, but yeah, if you have questions or maybe you also missed something, I mean, would like to add some further stuff, which might be interesting or important for all, feel free.
And maybe if there's any specific questions for John, he could also answer those. Putting you on the spot there, John. I haven't seen anything in the chat, so...
Me neither.
I imagine there's none. Otherwise, we will be around. I don't know about Nico, but I should be around on Hopin for the rest of this. So, questions can happen asynchronously.
All right, cool. Well, thank you both for that talk. That was great. I actually created a merge request, Nico, based on your comment around Connect being part of your participation in the program. So you can see that I put that in the stage chat.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, take a look at that. Let me know if you have any feedback. If anyone has any questions, they can put them in the chat, and I'd be happy to verbalize them. But thank you both for that great overview of the program, and for your participation on the steering committee and just being part of the event today. So thank you all so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Next up on the agenda is Philipp. Let me just see if Philipp's going to add himself. There he is. Philipp, do you want to try that again? I tried to add you, but it doesn't look like you joined.
So yes.
There you are.
Hi.
All right, cool. So thanks for being here with us today. Philipp's a GitLab hero and also the organizer of a GitLab meetup in Hamburg, and he's going to be talking to us about some of the work he's done in making that meetup community a success. And this is actually a bit of a tech talk too, so that's kind of cool.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you take it away, Philipp.
Yeah, I have to rejoin to share my screen. Give me a second.
I think I can remove you if that helps. Okay. All right, well, we wait for Philipp to rejoin. How about some GitLab community trivia here? Anybody want to guess and put your answers in the stage chat? How many GitLab meetup groups are there globally? You can add your responses to the stage chat. I see a couple hundreds. I see Emily, 17. That's our low ball. A couple others in the middle. That's okay, Emily. Nico covering a lot of ground, giving himself a lot of leeway there with a 30-point range. All right. I guess our winners will be Mario and Nicholas. We have 58 GitLab meetup groups. Nico, I'm sorry, I can't count your 30-point range. It's just too wide. That's not fair. Somewhere between 0 and 1,000. All right, Philipp is coming back.
So it kicked me out completely from my browser. So I share my screen now. Hopefully the right one. Yes. Yeah, I have to talk, or I prepared something which is an alternative to Zoom and Meet at Microsoft Meets for hosting a meetup. And it's Jitsi. So, and since the virtual meetups are starting to begin, I choose Jitsi to host my meetups there. And yeah, I present or I give you a little bit insights what's Jitsi and how I use the self-hosted instance when too much people want to attend to your meetup. Yes. So I'm Philipp Westphalen. I'm from Hamburg, Germany, and I'm working as a full stack developer, engineer. Yeah, doesn't matter. And yes, as John introduced me, I'm running the GitLab meetup in Hamburg. I think nearly 2 years ago, the group started. and it's running quite great, a little bit great. Yes, and yeah, and in my spare time I'm cooking a lot and playing with the Google Cloud. Yes. So why I had to choose? The first virtual meetups were running on Jitsi. And Jitsi is hosting a community edition where you can create your own space or your own call, and then others can join you. And this worked quite well for a long time until I had a meetup about Gitpod last year. And as you see here, over 83 people want to join the meetup, and Jitsi supports only 50 people for less than an hour, I think. So there's a limit how you can use the tool. And then I decide 1 week before the meetup that I try to host Jitsi on my own in the GCP, because I can simply run up my instance for an hour or two and then destroy it completely, and don't have to rent a complete month instance. Yes. So what is Jitsi in detail? The tool is a conference tool like others. And the cool thing about that, it's open source tool, so everyone can contribute there too. And it has have an active developer community, and there are quite good blog posts about how you can create your own Jitsi instance and how to use it. And yeah, and the most important is you can host it by yourself. And yeah, this is maybe for companies special interesting, because you can you have the data privacy and don't have to trust any other company to to host your own calls. Yes. Yeah, and why I choose Google Cloud Platform for hosting my own instance. Yeah, I mentioned it before. You can simply do what a cloud does. You can simply create a VM instance in under a couple of seconds, and then you run your, and then you can throw it away after you don't need it anymore. Yes, and it's the Google Cloud because I'm the most familiar with that. I use it privately and in my company. Yes, and especially there's a cool thing about that. Google providing free resource contingent, which is so high that you can simply run your Jitsi instance for meetups or a couple of meetups without paying anything, which is really awesome. And a part of that, it's simply cheap to host a meetup when you are above the free resource contingent. Yes. And especially important, you can use Terraform to provide your own Jitsi instance. Yeah. And the most cool thing, I use Terraform and GitLab CI for creating my an instance in the GCP, and can simply trigger the pipeline if I need a Jitsi instance, and destroying them after the meetup, for example. And I show you it next. Yes, and here I showed you, or I designing or show you the workflow which I prefer. And I saw 10 or 15 minutes ago, this is a good way that you have a big or long time before you start your meetup to create the instance, because sometimes can be, if you're creating a lot of new instances, Let's Encrypt deny you a new certificate for your domain, which happened today, which is not so good for the thing, but it's all in Terraform, so that doesn't matter. So yeah, and you simply trigger the pipeline, setting up your GCP with Terraform, and then the startup script is running. And after the meetup, you simply destroy it. So, and now I go to the repository. It's open for everyone. You can use it. I have a small guide how to use it when you're on your own. Yes. And when I am starting to host a meetup, I simply go here to run a pipeline. Yes. And then the script is going really fast, and yeah. And I can show you a little bit what's inside, what is especially good to share. Yes, it's a little bit technical about Terraform, or especially what I use here. I think the most interesting thing is how to automate your installing Jitsi on a Debian system, and then create own certificate, because there are a little bit prompts which you asked during the update process. Yeah, and this little thing cost me, I think, about a day or two to create that everything is automatically and without any prompt which is not catched. So, but there are also good guides how to do it. Yes, and simply it's installing all required add-ons or apt installs. Yes, and you need Jitsi, and it's all explained on the web page. Yeah, and this is the most important thing, that when you are trying to automate that, that you're describing your complete, or describing the prompts which are used or coming up front from the Jitsi instance, because it's mostly designed to that human doing the installation and not automated script. But there are cool things like the depconf set selections. Yes. And yeah, if you are trying to automate in other clouds or on other systems, I think this is a really good start when you need a complex thing. I think the cloud configuration is quite easy if you're knowing what you're doing or using it daily. Yes. And yeah. And because you have a small amount of time to host your instance, you can simply going wild for the resources you want to use. And I think it's 4 cores and 16 gigabytes of RAM, or more cores, I don't know, but it's 16 gigabytes of RAM. Yes, and yeah, you can look at it later, or I think yes, that's a little about the inside. And after I finished the whole thing, I feel like Hacker Man. Yes, and I think maybe the system is up. I post it on my own web page. It's not running. Oh, never mind, I have a typo. And there is it. I don't stop the time, but I think it's under 4 or 5 minutes. And there is your Jitsi instance, which is automatically secured by Let's Encrypt. Yes, and then you can simply start your meetup, like meetup, start the meeting, and then you have your thing running, and I can see me again on 2 screens. Yeah, this is really cool. And if you are done with your meetup, you can simply go to the CI/CD and you can click here to destroy your Jitsi instance, and it's clear the whole your whole resources you created. Yeah, and the GitLab CI YAML or configuration is quite simple, because I'm simply doing a Terraform init and apply or destroy in these steps. Yes, and I use the cool rules feature to enable it's only via the web, and the first step is always, and the second step is manual. So you don't have to commit anything to your repository to start your pipeline. Yes, and yeah. How can start? Perfect. Yeah, and there are a lot of cool features they you can configure, but I never use them because my instance is simply running where I am on this instance. So I don't worry about some security breaches or people who are doing bad stuff with my instance, because it's simply there for 3 hours. Yes. So I didn't get too much in it, but it's planned to automate it also with Terraform. Yeah, you can configure who can create a room call. Yes. And my conclusion for that, the startup time is really fast. I think you saw it some minutes ago. Yes, and yeah, and it's automated. And if you're using already the Google Cloud Platform and have a cloud DNS there, you don't have to do anything with that, except configuring one time your GitLab CI variables, and after that point, it's click and play or plug and play. Yes, and if the costs are really low, I think, and everyone can do that, and you don't need a company to save your bag and provide instance or something else, because I think everyone have these price. And the pros is you don't need Kubernetes. It's important to mention that there is a Docker Jitsi instance, which I personally not prefer for a small. If you don't using Kubernetes, it's way too much and way more expensive to do Kubernetes only for the Jitsi instance, but it's also a cool alternative. I think there's this Docker instance released end of last year. Yes, and I think for the meetup guys, the biggest problem is that you cannot link your Jitsi instance in a native way. This is only for Zoom or other central providers to provide a link, and if you're hosting a meetup, you have to send an email to your people who are attending to place their the link, and I think it's a little bit dangerous to do that way, because not everyone is reading or not everyone is reading the emails or looking up the updated description, for example, to search for that. And they have to search for that. It's not so cool like the native way. Yes. And another con is that this configuration is specialized for GCP with Cloud DNS. You have to configure a little bit when you don't using Cloud DNS. And yes, but I think the important thing here is the startup script. Yes. And I think that's all from my side. And yes. And thank you for your attention. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Philip. That was great. And something, this is something our team is pretty excited about. After you shared a link to the project on Twitter, we had a discussion among the community relations team at GitLab about making this something that we suggest to organizers. So thanks for your work on that. And I expect this is something that will be, adding to our virtual meetups checklist in the near future. I think, one question that I have is, when you're kind of setting up this Jitsi instance, like what is the output URL that you would share with folks? Does it have like a Jitsi, like the word Jitsi or something in the URL? That, because I'm thinking I could reach out to Meetup and ask them to support Jitsi links, but that would only work if Jitsi is part of the URL that's created.
Yeah, the most common way is meet. Your domain for self-hosted instance, and Jitsi have the community edition, and I think it's quite hard for self-hosted instance to get there, because I think they only restricted to a main provider. But cool news is that Jitsi have a SaaS version where you can simply use that for low, but I don't know the pricing. Yeah, maybe we can catch up later about this topic.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think the pricing that you're sharing, like less than 50 cents per meetup, is, something that we could certainly cover those costs. I'm not sure. Yeah, my sense would be that the SaaS version will be much more expensive than that.
It's cool.
Any other questions in the chat that I can verbalize? I see Will has a comment.
This is a good idea. I thought of to make a Terraform module for that. I will look on that, how to make a module and do it mostly. But I think I will do it later. How to do it? Maybe you can create an issue on the repository with your ideas, how to make it.
All right. Well, so you have a homework as promised. And then Nicholas has a question. He asks, is it possible to use an SSO so that we could use GitLab.com as login provider?
I don't know. I think I didn't dive that much in the project. I have to look up for that. Yes. All
right, cool. Yogi asked, what do you think of setting up Slack for GitLab Heroes instead of GitHub? That's not, we can address that separately. That could be something that we can talk about during the networking part of the day. And Nico has another suggestion, but I think that's it for the questions. Yeah, thank you so much, Philip. That was great. And thank you so much for your contributions to GitLab and the community and organizing the Hamburg meetup. I think that group has been, one of our most active during the whole lockdown. And so I thank you for taking such strong leadership of that group and making sure that everyone's staying connected. We do really appreciate it. And I'm sure your community members do also.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, cool. So next up is going to be Bethan Vincent. Bethan, can you just add yourself as a panelist, and then I can add you to the stage? There you are.
Hello, hello.
What is up? Thank you for joining us. I know you had other obligations today, so I do really appreciate you making time to be part of the event. Are you all set to go?
I am. Do I just share my screen, I'm guessing?
Yep, and then I'll drop off so that I'm not distracting folks as I scratch my beard or whatever else I do, pick my nose. All right, good luck.
Right. Thank you. Oh wow, that was screenception then. Can everybody see me? See what I'm doing? I'm making sure. No, screenception back again. Cool. When I do this, I think you can all see me. Hello, hello. It's a pleasure to be here. Here from the lockdown and very wet UK. If you hear some dripping in the background, it's just my roof. It's all good. It's all fine. Old houses, no need to panic. So I'm here to talk about giving talks, which seems a little bit meta, but we'll get into it and kind of give you some of my insights and tips from my kind of, varied speaking career. So hi, I'm Bethan. I'm the marketing director at NetSales. We're a product and software development consultancy here in the UK. I'm based in the north, so it's very wet, very cold. I've been kind of doing public speaking for a number of years now, pretty much all of my life, I would say. I've done various kind of things on stage, and I think that's predisposed me to the world of public speaking. Did a lot of acting at school and things like that, and musical theatre, and I promise I'm not going to sing for you now, so it should all be good. I spoke last year at the GitLab Commit San Francisco event, which was amazing. My first time in San Francisco, it was a lot warmer, it was a lot better. And I've done kind of various speaking around the world and lots in the UK as well. So hopefully I'm going to inspire you. If you haven't been a public speaker before, get up on stage or done anything like that, I'm going to inspire you to perhaps consider giving it a go. I promise it's not as scary as it seems, and there's loads of stuff you can do to kind of prepare yourself and make sure you feel comfortable and happy, and that you're giving an audience a great time, because that's what it's about. So I firstly wanted to kind of talk about why become a public speaker. Lots of people see it as kind of a route to tech fame, I would say. And yes, there's lots of kind of business benefits in air quotes, and you get your name out there and you get your brand's name out there. But I think if we're talking about more personal development and doing it kind of for yourself and to raise the profile of your work and your interests, it's just a great way of connecting with other people. That's why I like to do it. I like to kind of showcase what I'm working on, some of the things I'm thinking about, and get other people's responses to that. And I know obviously you can kind of post on Twitter, you could do LinkedIn posts, you could do the whole social media thing, you could write blog posts and try and get it on Hacker News and things like that. But there's something so powerful about being in front of an audience and getting that kind of real-time connection. And obviously, you know, we've moved to online. and that could be the foreseeable future. I hope not, but we shall see. And it's still worth doing, even in an online context. There's something about having kind of a live audience, and the Q&A sessions at the end of these are great because people get to discuss ideas and dig down a little bit deeper. So there is a lot of value in becoming a public speaker. You don't have to do it on massive stages at all. You can do it to small meetups, and that's how I actually started. Was I went to meetups and did the kind of 2-minute lightning talks and took it from there. And that's an amazing place to get feedback on your ideas, but you can take it as far as you want to take it. If your dream is to be on a big stage speaking to thousands of people, you can definitely get there. So just a little bit on that for you. But today we're really going to talk about what a good talk looks like, or what a great talk looks like. And in my experience, being both a kind of speaker, but also somebody who goes to a lot of conferences and listens to a lot of talks, I think there's 3 kind of key components to a good talk. There's content, there's structure, and delivery. And that's really what we're going to dig into today, each one of those kind of sections and what you can do to improve that. Now, I said there's 3 sections, but really, in my opinion, one matters more than anything else, and it's the delivery of your talk. And I think you can get away with saying kind of whatever you want to say, obviously within your reason and all of that, and being kind of appropriate to your audience, but you can kind of get away with less good content, in air quotes, if you have a really great delivery method, if you're really engaging with people, if you kind of can tell a story really powerfully. You don't have to say anything that's absolutely profound or that hasn't been said before, but you do want to engage people. And this is relevant for offline as well as online, but studies suggest that effective presentations, it says here, are 30% your voice, 38% your voice, sorry, I can't read today, and 55% is non-verbal communication, and that's the kind of gestures. I'm an over gesturer. It's your gestures, it's your tone, it's making eye contact, especially if you are in a room with people. That's a really great way of connecting with your audience. And only 7% is your content. So really where your focus should be going if you're preparing for a talk or thinking about delivering a talk is the delivery. That's when you're going to add the most value to what you're doing. But we'll start off with content first. Now, these are kind of my thoughts on content. I mean, firstly, know your audience. I would give a very different talk to a different audience, even if it was on the same subject. So taking this talk, for example, I actually delivered it at work a couple of weeks ago to some of our kind of junior team members who really kind of are new in their careers. The whole concept of public speaking and speaking up in meetings is something that's quite daunting, and you can see they're a bit nervous about. So I'd very much tailor it to them in that circumstance, understand kind of their concerns. A lot of them were dealing with clients in meetings, and their concerns were, how do I come across as authoritative to a client when I'm kind of sat there and I'm 21 and I'm all kind of nervous. So, you tailor it to them. If your audience, is a room full of thousands of software engineers, there are going to be some common themes there. Don't deploy on a Friday. I've been told that's a big thing. But, you can kind of really gear it to who you're speaking to. If you're doing a very general talk to a very generalized audience, keep it general. Don't be too specific. Don't make jokes people aren't going to get. All of that kind of thing. Secondly, make it personal. The best stories and the best kind of pieces of content are ones that intimately, that you're kind of connected with. And this talk here today about giving talks is really connected with my kind of experiences over the last few years trying to be a better public speaker. This comes from my lived experience of this topic. And that's not to say, only speak about things you intimately know. That's not necessarily true, but do try and connect it to experiences you've had, stories you had, or even people and their experiences. And I think I have said this already, what you're saying doesn't have to be profound, but it does need to be interesting. It's very hard to have a new idea, but you can add your own flavor, you can add your own spin to things. Nothing I'm going to say today is groundbreaking. It's all out there if you searched for it. But this is my own take on it, and this is my kind of way of packaging up in hopefully a way that you guys enjoy, understand, like, and appreciate. So, content's that 77% small section, but we can do some fun things with it. A few thoughts on structure. So some of the best talks I've ever watched, I think, have had a really good structure to them. and they've had a very kind of good narrative flow. And what I mean by that is they're essentially telling a story. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end, and you can very clearly follow that. And you kind of know what to expect, you know what's going to happen, and you can really kind of just go through that and know where they're going with things, even if they're saying some surprising things along the way. I think good talks often focus on one or two key takeaways. They aren't a massive overload of information. We've all seen those slides where people put, it's in like fonts 10, you can't read it, you can't take it in this time they've got it up on the screen, and you're more focused on reading the slides than you are kind of hearing what people have to say. And they also have clear sections and headings. So you'll kind of notice I've used our company slide deck just because I had it on hand and it's reasonably good. But, I have clear sections, I have clear headings, I have clear subheadings. And I kind of divided my talk up into these 3 areas of focus. And I laid that out in the beginning of the talk. So you kind of knew what was coming. You could almost pace yourselves through this talk as well. So there's a bit of a cue to the audience of, are we 5% in, 10% in? Are we near the end? And I think people always appreciate that kind of knowing what's coming up, so they can almost kind of cue themselves and pace themselves along with your talk. And in terms of, slides, obviously make them bright, make them fun, try and make them, obviously accessibility is really, really important. Just because, you do it well on the web doesn't mean you can forget about it in a more kind of like analog, that's probably not the right term, but, this type of setting, make sure people can understand what you put up on the screen. And obviously, easy to read fonts, easy laid out pages. I always try and get my design team to help me out. I'm not a natural designer. I cannot draw, don't understand shapes, but I always try and get input from them before I deliver a talk, just so I'm making sure that other people can read it and understand it. The slides are important, but they're not always the key thing. So delivery, this is really the focus. This is like the meaty bit. This is where I would say most of your work should go. So firstly, kind of talking about confidence, I think there's this misconception that public speakers are naturally very confident. I'm really not. I get very nervous. I was really nervous before I kind of jumped on and did this. And I've literally come from another presentation as well I had to do. And every time I give a talk, I'm always super, super nervous. And there's kind of a thin line between confidence and arrogance. I think you want to back yourself. You want to kind of believe in what you're saying and believe in the message you're trying to get across and the fact that people will want to hear that message. But there is that kind of, the line you can cross over where you go into arrogance. And we've all seen those speakers who they are very arrogant. It doesn't necessarily come across very well. But I think on the majority of people are kind of underconfident in themselves. And really, the way of getting over that is believing in yourself, believing in the message you're trying to say, and taking some time to practice, and we'll come on to practice in a second, and taking some time to get feedback from other people. So again, before I kind of design a talk or deliver a talk, I'll always run it through with my partner at home, colleagues at work, and just get their feedback on it. And actually, generally, that's quite reassuring. No one's ever said, oh my God, that was awful, please never do that again. It's always been, that was really good. You could maybe add a slide in here, I didn't quite understand it, or you could change this kind of flow here, it's not quite working for me. And that gives then you the confidence, someone's enjoyed it, given you some feedback on it, you can go out and deliver a good talk. So this comes from like my background in acting and musical theatre, but sometimes people do forget the basics of speaking. I know that sounds ridiculous, but projection, pace, and breath. So projection, that's more important if you're in a setting where you're, let's say, in a large hall, you're maybe on microphone, so you've kind of got to fill that space with your sound. But it is about talking confidently, talking from your diagram. Posture helps quite a lot. So especially if I'm delivering a talk on a stage, what I will do is before that talk, I will do, it sounds really silly, I'll do massive stretches. I don't know if you've ever seen the TED talk about power poses, but there's a little bit of psychological kind of a boost you're giving yourself there. But I will go and, make sure I'm standing up tall, my back is stretched out, my shoulders are back, and I'm kind of ready. My diaphragm is as open as it can be, so I can come on stage, feeling confident and portraying that confidence. And that really helps with the projection, kind of speaking from your diagram. Pacing is another part to this. So we've always, well, lots of us have been to the talks where everyone talks really, really fast and we have no idea what's going on and we have no idea what they're saying and they're going a million miles a minute because maybe they have a time deadline and they're trying to rush. No one understands that, right? Pacing is really, really important. Talking too fast can give the kind of signal you're a bit nervous, which is actually absolutely fine. Lots of people are nervous, but also sometimes it's quite hard to understand. And generally the rule I find with this is talk slower than you think you should be, and that's about the right pace. And again, totally an area you can get feedback on from other people. I do think it's better to be on the slow side than the fast side with this, because at least people can understand what you're saying. And this also feeds in with breath, and that's remind yourself to breathe. When I started out, this is something I really would forget, and I'd get to the end of a sentence or, you know, kind of part of my talk, and I'd be like, because I forgot to breathe because I was talking so fast and because I was really nervous. But, you know, slow yourself down, breathe, and add in those pauses. No one's going to notice. And some of the best public speaking advice I've ever had, and this was from an old manager of mine, and I was about to go and deliver a talk at Lead Dev London on the Barbican Centre main stage, which, if you don't know, is like a massive concert hall in the UK, and it's, you know, some of the greatest classical artists have performed on the stage, so I was bricking it. And they said, look, nobody's going to know whether you said something you should have said or not. Nobody knows what you're going to say. So if you miss something out, if you trip up, if you don't include a section and skip past it, no one is going to know. Only you know that. So I found that a really quite relaxing thought. And you just keep that in mind. If you do trip up, you know, if you get your pacing slightly wrong and you can kind of trip over your own words, if you take a second to kind of breathe, reset, get back into it, 9 times out of 10, the audience actually won't notice because they don't understand the kind of flow you were going for, or they haven't seen the script essentially. So that it really is my top tip there. Eye contact, spoken a bit about this. Eye contact's really important in life in general. And I know for some people, you know, in a neurodiverse environment, it may not always be something that's possible. And I don't want to kind of say this as an absolute because of that. But if you feel comfortable with doing it, do make eye contact with people. It does help. If you're on stage, there are kind of a couple of ways of doing this. If you're on a small stage with a very kind of close audience, I generally pick 1 or 2 people, kind of in a spread across the audience, and kind of, I like do the whole revolving my head around them. That works really well. It makes sure you're kind of looking like you've got a sweep of the spread of the audience. If you're on a really large stage where you've got a lot of light coming in your eyes, that can often be a thing where, you know, you've got the blinding spotlights on you. I generally pick a kind of line in the mid center of the audience. I can't really see who it is, but I just follow that line and I make sure I'm looking kind of up and out into the audience. And again, that's a good way if you don't feel comfortable making eye contact with people, that you can kind of give that audience connection. On Zoom or whatever video software you're using at the moment, it's a bit more difficult, I'm not going to lie. And one of the really distracting things is having that picture of yourself on the top right hand, left hand side, wherever you've got it, and you're thinking, oh my God, I didn't do my hair, because you're looking at yourself, oh my God, like my roots are really bad, or like my glasses have got this really weird glare. Turn that off. Turn off your own view. It will make life just a lot easier. You won't be fixating on yourself. Try and look at your camera if you can. Again, it's whatever you're comfortable with, but I do find that kind of helps a lot, and I've just become suddenly very aware of that. But, you know, if you can maintain eye contact with the camera, that does really help. It gives people on the other side of the screen the impression that you're looking at them, whether you are or you aren't. And yeah, eye contact is a really powerful thing, especially if people ask you questions at the end. Again, if you're in a physical space, you know, do try and engage with them, do try and meet their eyes. It's that human connection really is what this is all about. Just a note on humour. So I'm British. We like to be very sarcastic about everything. And this actually comes from some of my time in the States, but I realised that humour is very culturally specific. And sometimes you'll input a joke that maybe other people won't get. And that's absolutely fine. I always think it's worth a shot. But if your whole talk is reliant on being very funny or full of lots of jokes, that can sometimes fall flat, especially if it's an international audience, or even just an audience who are very different to your typical audience. So I do some talking in schools, and I try and throw out jokes about, you know, deploying on a Friday, and everyone's like, the kids are there, like, we have no idea what this means. So just be aware, cultural kind of specificity is a thing. And, you know, include humor. It's a really great device, but maybe make it the garnish, not the main course. And then kind of practice. So generally what I do before I give a talk is I'll write out the talk structure in a kind of Word document, go through, I'll kind of work out what my headings are, bullet point the main points I want to make, and I'll kind of run through that a couple of times, make sure I'm comfortable, maybe share it with a couple of people to get input and feedback on it. And then I'll kind of translate this into my slides. And then essentially I will run through my slides about 4 or 5 times on my own, literally talking to the wall or my cat or whoever's available. But I do find if you kind of practice to the nth degree, you do come across as quite rehearsed. It's completely up to you, really. It's whatever you're comfortable with. If you're someone who wants to practice to that nth degree, do it. You know, it's your talk at the end of the day. I can only give you the advice from my own personal experience, but you can sometimes tell when people are reciting essentially from a memorized script. And I do think that the talks are great are the people who can kind of respond to the mood to the room. They might change things up, or, you know, maybe they've listened to an earlier talk that referenced something they're going to talk about, so they kind of include that into the talk. And having that flexibility can be really cool because it allows you to kind of connect to other themes during the day. So yeah, definitely practice, you know, maybe not too much, and don't stress yourself out over it as well. That's the thing with like over practicing, is that you can become a bit fixated on doing it perfectly. And as I said, if no one knows what you're meant to say, it doesn't matter if you don't include everything on the script. It removes a lot of pressure from you, which can be great. And then, you know, this is really my final point. I'm not sure how I'm doing on time, but be yourself is really important in these things. There's no right way of delivering a talk. There's no right way of being a public speaker. Everyone has their own style and their own personality that they bring to things, and that's what makes going to conferences and going to events like this really interesting, because you get to see people and hear from people who are different from you. So, you know, my style, my way of giving a talk, as I said, I love using my hands. I'm way too handy. It may not work for you. That may not be your thing, but your thing will work for you. You'll be confident in it, and it will be appreciated by the audience. And, you know, never be afraid to be a bit vulnerable in front of audiences as well. I've been to loads of conferences actually where, you know, some pretty kind of famous speakers have got on, and I think they've gone like, oh my gosh, this is such a large audience, and they've gone, hey guys, you know, or folks, I'm really nervous to be here today, but you know what, we're going to have fun, we're going to have a good time. And that kind of vulnerability is quite powerful. So if you are nervous, feel free to say it. People are so understanding. I think, you know, it's a bit meta now I'm getting into, but we forget how harsh we can be on ourselves, and an audience is always going to be less harsh than you. You are going to be your own worst critic. So just get out there, be yourself. You bring your own story, bring your own passion, bring your own enthusiasm. And if you do that, to be honest, it's going to be a great talk, regardless of the content, regardless of the delivery. If you're being yourself, that's the most important thing. So thanks so much for listening. I hope that was interesting and useful. Please let me know if you have any questions at all. Also, if you don't want to kind of say it out loud here, whatever, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Slack, wherever you can find me, please do connect with me. But thank you so much. Ooh, Zoomception again.
Yeah, thank you, Bethan. That was great. And yeah, I think that last point around being your own, like, you know, toughest critic is so true. And like, we've all experienced that bit of imposter syndrome, but great presentations like these that give people the skills and kind of tips that they need to, you know, be successful when they are on stage is a great way to help kind of break through that. So thank you for providing us all with those tools and skills and tips to be successful when we do take on opportunities that maybe push us out of our comfort zone. I'm really excited to share this with the team, the developer evangelism team at GitLab. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. Thank you for listening.
If there are any questions, please add them in the chat now. If not, we'll be taking a break and reconvene in about 15 minutes, and we'll do our lightning talks. So I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. So let's take a break now. We'll reconvene at 50 minutes past the hour. And for folks that are doing the lightning talks, I would ask that when you're, joining the event or rejoining the event, please use the link in the calendar invite that I sent to you yesterday. That'll allow you to enter the backstage area, and then I can promote you to a speaker from there. Bethan, how did you kind of add yourself to the panel so that I could add you to the stage? Can you just explain that to folks that are going to be speaking in the lightning talks?
Yeah. So at the top, there was join with audio and video. So I clicked on that, and then it, allowed me to say whether I wanted to join through my browser. Okay,
cool. So I would hope that folks follow those steps. If anyone's having technical difficulties, we can always move the schedule around a little bit, but Mario is scheduled to lead us off for the lightning talks. So thanks everyone for your participation. I thought that was a really great start to the day. Love seeing all the conversation in chat. All of the talks were great. So thank you to all of our speakers. And we'll see you all in a little bit. Thanks everyone.